Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena and welcome to the new room setup. We've finally got everything set up. I am still waiting on my new PC to come, which should hopefully be less than a week away. And then I will look at starting to stream. I'm going to put out a community post about streams eventually and see what time works for you guys and if you guys actually want to see me stream. So let me know in the comments below as well. But in today's video, we are going to be looking at my top 5 carry heroes. So like not just main DPS, these are going to be ones that are the solo carry heroes, so they have the sustain, they can take a hit and they can deal some really nice damage and get you through. So let's get into the video. Before we get into it, if you guys do want me to do a list of like the top 10 carry damage dealers when you're building them with a full team, you know, for progress and all like that sort of stuff, we can do that as well. Just let me know. But this one is going to be focusing on those self-sustaining, just awesome solo heroes. A few honorable mentions. Firstly, to the basic just agility dodge heroes that can just do it wearing leather gear, like Kaz and Thane. They can be crazy and do some crazy solo stuff. But this one I'm going to focus more on ones that have some self-sustain. And we also have the two legendary tier heroes that are amazing for this as well, which are Savius and Verdan, both really solid heroes at self-sustaining and doing good damage. However, these legendary tier heroes I feel have dropped off a lot in the game recently just because of how functional the wishlist is and how easy it is to get copies of heroes that you want with all the events they're giving us with free summons and all that sort of stuff. So that's why these guys did not make the list, but now let's get into it. Number 5 on the list, and this one I was tossing up between a few heroes, between things like K-Source, Warwick, Rigby, things like that. I ended up going with the one that causes me the most issues when I fight him in a similar level of arena, and that is Izod. Now he's got a lot of healing, a lot of damage. So basically, his ultimate, he restores 50% of the health he's lost and increases his haste and attack, which is really nice. Now, this one also, besides giving that sustain and all that sort of stuff, the sustain and extra damage, if he kills someone while doing this, he gets a damage reduction of for 15 seconds. That's his signature item. And then also, when his signature item gets to level 30, if he's under the effect of this, which totals to be 18 seconds, he's immune to control effects, which is insane. So he's got the control immunity, and he's got just really good damage and really good sustain through this ability. His next ability, when his health is greater than 30%, he uses noxious gas to deal damage to his enemies proportionate to his health, and he'll continue to receive damage. But it's not too bad when you consider his ult restores that HP he's lost, and he's fairly tanky. Next one, this one's really handy. It's a bit of CC at the start of the battle. He basically just spears an enemy up and deals some decent damage. It's not crazy, but it's okay damage, and gets a knock up, which is a bit of CC, so it's not too bad. This one here, Izod injects himself, restoring 16% of the health that he has already lost per second over 8 seconds. So it's really nice. Increases up to 20%. So the lower he is, obviously the higher the healing is going to be. So he's a specialist in, you get him really low thinking he's going to die, and then he has this, he uses his ult, and he's just right back up there dealing some decent damage. And like I said, if you get a signature item on this guy up to level 30, it's pretty nice when he's just got CC immunity. So that is Izod. Number 4 on the list is going to be Brutus. Now, Brutus is one, he struggles with having the damage output. Like, his damage can be really nice if the enemies group up. If they're well spread out, he's going to struggle a bit. So the thing that makes Brutus fantastic, this ultimate does really nice damage. He attacks his enemies, then spins and gets some really nice AoE damage and converts 35% of the total damage into health. So that's going to be really nice because if the enemies are all grouped up, this does really nice damage. He's going to be getting a lot of healing. When we look at his second skill, which is a Roar, it basically increases the physical damage that the enemies take by up to 50%. And for the solo factor of it, Brutus does have physical damage, so he's going to be increasing his own damage by a lot. And that, once again, is AoE. So if you have a bunch of enemies grouped up, taking that Roar, then taking a spin from Brutus, it's going to be quite effective. And then this one, Brutus's damage output is raised according to how low his health falls. Brutus's attack rating can be increased by up to 90%. And then he also gets the haste, and if we look at the max skill, it's 100% attack and haste by up to 25%. Now, this is really nice when we couple it with his final ability, which is when he's dealt a fatal blow, he's able to retain 1 health point and is immune to subsequent damage for 4 seconds, 7 seconds, or 8 seconds, depending on what level you have that. So all of these things just synergize really well into being a really nice solo carry hero. So when we look at this ability as well, it's also tied into his signature item, which is when he procs this ability, he's going to heal himself. And then also the signature item will extend this by 1 second up to 9 seconds of immunity. So like I said, if enemies are grouped up, I have had trouble with him as like a solo carry hero, but he can still be really nice if they are grouped up, because once again, he's going to be getting them all weakened, hitting them all for some really nice damage and getting some healing. If you have the signature item unlocked, he's also going to get extra healing when he procs this last gap. And the awesome thing about this last gap is if Brutus is getting CC'd, and let's go to test hero and just have a little bit of a watch. If he is getting CC'd and the enemies are dealing nice damage to him and he drops to that 1 HP, it will break CC, give him CC immunity, and then he can just go ahead and use his roar, use his spin, and get all that health back. And because he is going to be at that low 1 HP, he's going to have 100% increased attack, meaning he's going to do a truckload of damage and get a lot of healing. But once again, nice if the enemies are stacked up so that he can get maximum effect from this. Moving on to number 3 on the list, it's going to be Titus. Now, this guy could be higher. I just haven't had the chance to test him properly. I just am not pulling the copies, but he's got a kit that is really nice. I have played him with on this account with him early game, and he can be really functional. Now, the thing about Titus we've got to remember is that he doesn't become a self-sustaining unit until he gets this savagery to level 2. That is when he's actually going to shine, because he gets his life leech raised when he procs. But besides that, he's a nice damage dealer until then. But once he does get this level 2, it's nice that it's only level 2 and not level 4. He becomes absolutely amazing. So let's take a look at what makes him really nice. Basically, his second and third skill are awesome in the way they provide some really good control on top of his amazing damage and sustain. So his second ability basically does a combo attack, slicing enemies, knocking them back, which is nice CC. And then basically what happens with this after he uses it, he's going to use his roar, which is a Terrify for 5 seconds, which is normally going to hit 3 enemies if they're grouped up. If he goes in the front row, attacks, a standard formation, he's going to fear 3 enemies. That's the sort of range of it. It's going to be really nice. But not only that, it's going to increase his movement speed and attack rating. And then at level 3, nearby allies also receive movement speed and attack rating increase, which is, later on, but still really nice once you do get that. But basically, it's got CC. So he's got nice CC, he's got nice damage with these abilities. When we look at this is the passive that really makes him nice. He basically, if an enemy falls below 50% of their maximum HP, he'll just basically tunnel vision them and attack them flat out. His attack rating will be increased by 35% at base, 50% at max skill, which is until 240, so don't stress too much about that, but it's still a 35% attack increase is nice. And like I said, once he is doing that, he gets an extra life leech, which is really nice. Because he's enraged, he's dealing huge damage, he's still got that CC, and on top of that, this savagery, the thing that makes it absolutely fantastic, let's just go to test hero and have a look at him. The thing that makes that savagery really nice is his signature item. Once you do unlock that, it basically reduces all damage that Titus receives by 40% for the first 6 seconds after savagery is used. And because savagery is just dependent on your enemy's HP, if your enemies just keep dropping, he kills them, the next one drops below 50, he attacks them, he's going to keep getting this proc. And at level 20, it reduces damage taken by 70% for 6 seconds after he procs it. So you can see if he procs this, he's going to be surviving really nice. And then at level 30, if you take his signature item to 30, Titus is impervious to all control abilities for the first 6 seconds after savagery is used. So basically, as soon as one enemy falls below 50% health, he basically, essentially, if you have a maxed out signature item, which does take a long time, yes, I know, but this is in the long run, he's going to have 70% reduced damage, and he's going to be impervious to all control effects for 6 seconds. And I mean, you could just cycle that through the whole battle, and he could just basically maintain that. And he's also going to have that increased damage dealing. He's going to have the increased life leech. He's going to sustain really well. So like I said, I really do like this guy. But I haven't quite tested him at that. Like, I sort of really want to test him out at that sort of 161 to 200 stage to find out how amazing he can be. But that is him. When we look at his ultimate, I didn't go through it, but it's basically he just basically darts through the screen, does an AoE, and then lands on the weakest enemy, and then keeps attacking them for damage. So it's nothing too special. The other 3 abilities are what make him really, really nice, and that is Titus. Number 2 is going to be yet again another Mauler. Yes, they just work well for this self-sustaining, damage dealing, carrying type thing, but it's going to be Tantra. Now, she is absolutely fantastic. All of her attacks basically just try and give her back as much HP as possible, and it's really, really nice. So we'll take a look at Mark of the Wild first, because we'll get to her ultimate last, because that ties in with this. But basically, she attacks an enemy, deals some nice damage, puts a mark on them that will convert 30% of any damage she deals to them into health, which is really, really nice. Increases to a 9-second duration with skill ups, so it lasts for a while, and you're just going to get some health recovery from that. Next up, we do have Piercing Assault. After the first 8 seconds of battle, she'll basically throw a spear through the enemies to a backline enemy, appear behind them in front of them, and attack them and continue to attack. And the ability can't be dodged or anything like that. So it's a good way to push through to a back row and start attacking them. But it does only get used once per battle at the start of the battle, so it sort of loses effectiveness after that. Sort of her least exciting ability, in my opinion. Then we go on to this 4th skill, which is Knockdown. And Tantra uses her spear to swipe at enemies in her immediate vicinity, knocking them over, dealing 200% damage, which is nice, but not too bad damage. And then Tantra is able to recover 25% of her max health for every enemy that is knocked down. That is really, really nice. That's of her max health. So if there's one enemy, she gets 25%, 2 enemies, she gets 50%. As you can tell, that's basic maths. We got there. But it actually stacks up even better than that when we look at her ultimate. Obviously, with skill ups, once you get to level 240, she's going to have 35%, but that's way down the road. But when we look at her ultimate, basically, she does this furious attack. We'll click on her and see her do it. Wait, maybe we won't. There it is. So she does that, and basically, she attacks a lot of times. Does some really nice damage. She's immune to damage while she's doing this. So if you play on manual, you can wait for if you're fighting an enemy Brutus or something like that, who you think is just absolutely going to spank you once they go to do their spin, you can wait for it, time it. As soon as that Brutus starts his spin, you pop this, you start dealing damage to him, you start getting healing if he's got the mark on him, and he can't deal damage to you with that spin. So it's a really nice thing that you can do. But also on top of that, the great thing about this is her health restoration is increased by 100% for 7 seconds after she uses this. So if she uses this and then goes into her knockdown and knocks down one enemy, she's still going to recover 50% of her max HP. It's absolutely ridiculous. The other thing on top of all this, we'll jump into Test Hero. On top of all that, we look at her signature item, which basically means that if she falls below 30% health, she activates this ability, which will recover 10% of her max health per second for 30 seconds. So if she drops below 30 and doesn't die, she's pretty much not going to die. And with skill ups on the signature item, it's going to restore 15%, then 20% per second. If you're restoring 20% of your max health per second for 30 seconds, you're going to be pretty tanky and survive for a long time. She is susceptible to CC, but it doesn't matter as much just because she does have that passive with the signature item to keep her up. And the good thing about her sweep and stuff like that, well, first of all, her ultimate, if she gets CC'd, she's going to be taking damage, building up her ultimate gauge. Then she's going to ultimate, and then straight out of that, probably leg sweep. So she's going to get big recovery in a very short window where she just only needs a little bit of time not to be CC'd, and she can do some really nice recovery and get herself back up. And then with the signature item at level 30, she can activate it twice per battle with an 8-second spread. But I mean, if you can proc twice over a battle, having 30 seconds of 20% max health per second, it's going to be nice. You're going to have some pretty decent sustain. So that is Tantra. Before we get to number 1 on the list, I just wanted to give another honorable mention to Grizzle. Basically, Grizzle, with his signature item, has so much sustain, it's not funny. Basically, his signature item makes it so that he keeps summoning a skeleton every 7 or 8 seconds. I think it's 7 or 9 seconds, sorry. And also his ultimate summons skeletons that will attack the enemy. We'll just go Test Hero. And basically his signature item at level 20 means that for each skeleton of his that gets killed, he's going to restore 20% of his max HP. So This is something that's absolutely painful. As you can see, he summons 2 skeletons there. With his signature item, he's going to passively summon more skeletons that distract the back row. So he's just really amazing in the sense that he's got massive health recovery with these skeletons, but also those skeletons go behind the enemies, meaning it's going to turn enemies around, distract them, and all that sort of stuff. So he can live forever. However, the reason he's not on the list is because his damage just isn't good enough to be able to defeat any team that has any sort of recovery. Basically, they're just going to out-sustain him, and you're going to end up running into a draw, which, hey, if it's your arena defense and you can get a really annoying stall team and put him in there and he can just survive till the end, you get an arena defense win. But besides that, like I said, really good survivability, really good distraction, and really good sustain, but just the damage isn't quite there for me on Grizzle to get him onto the top 5 list. And number 1 on the list, if you haven't seen her yet on the list, I think most people would have called it, is going to be Sameera. And I know some people don't like Sameera as much. However, I just think the ease of obtaining her and how just strong she is with carrying is fantastic. She really does shine past 161, but before that, she's really, really nice as well. In my opinion, my Greatborn account I've carried with Sameera, and I really find her to be a really strong solo hero. So basically, when we look at her ultimate, she puts souls all over the screen. She's going to deal nice damage. You can't avoid it. She can get CC'd after this, and it doesn't matter. She's still going to deal the damage. The one exception is going to be mind control. If she's mind controls, it will stop dealing damage just because she's effectively on that enemy's team, so she can't deal damage to them. But if she gets stunned, knocked down, anything like that, feed, she's still going to be dealing that damage with those souls. And like I said, past 161, she's going to be getting healed while they're on the screen. Before that, basically, she gets healed after it in proportion to the damage she deals. And pretty much, if there's a full enemy team, she's always going to be getting healed up to full. So it's really amazing. Soul Siphon is another sustainability where she's basically just going to use the Soul Siphon on an enemy and get some health back. Now, this Soul Siphon can be really annoying at certain stages, because she'll be using this Soul Siphon. She'll have her hands above her head, using the Soul Siphon. You've got a full energy bar, wanting to use your ultimate, and you'll waste like 3 seconds using Soul Siphon. That's the one stage that does become a little bit annoying. The next one is Silence. It's nice. It has some CC. This is really nice on some teams when you come down to a 1v1. You know, the rest of the enemies are dead. The rest of your team's dead. It's her versus one enemy. This one, she's going to use it, interrupt an enemy, and it can sometimes clutch you a win. This happens a lot of times for me against Niru, where he's about to use his execute, basically, and she interrupts him, and it just saves the day. That's just one example, but yeah, really, really nice that you can interrupt an enemy as well. And also, when you've got a full team, the enemy has a full team, if you get lucky RNG, she interrupts the right person, it can really change the way a battle is done. And then finally here, Sameera deals more damage the more health she possesses. Sameera's damage can be increased by up to 30%, and then crit rating also increased with skill ups. So that is really, really nice because, you know, you just basically stack the health. She's always going to be healing up and getting back to that full health, which means she's going to be dealing more damage with that. So, like I said, I know some people don't like Sameera as much. I just think still she is one of the best carry heroes. You can farm her from the Labyrinth, and with the effectiveness of the wish list, if you start a new account today and target Sameera, you know, if you re-roll until you pull one copy of Sameera and then you start rolling with it, you're going to get her ascended really, really fast. And like I said, she's going to surpass that point of where Savius and Verdan are useful and just basically outshine them completely. So that is going to be it for my list of the top 5 solo carry heroes. Let me know once again if you do want me to do a list of just best damage dealers to build as your main damage dealer if you have the right sort of support behind them. But that is going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.